Good morning, and thanks for having me join you in this great event. I'm going to take you all to Puerto Rico in a cruise ship. But before we start, can we dance some salsa? Do you want to dance some salsa? I know that you would like to dance salsa today, but unfortunately, Jimmy, no salsa, Jimmy, no salsa, John, thanks for inviting us to this wonderful event. It's amazing all the manufacturers that are here today. And I know that you're manufacturers because he was not able to get you back to business. So, yes, they are true manufacturers. After 2 months after hurricanes hit the U.S., floodings and fires, what have we learned from them? How are companies preparing for continuity after such disasters? What more can be done? Let's talk about Superstorm Sandy. It was the deadliest and most destructive hurricane of the 2012 century year that hit the Atlantic area, and the second most costly hurricane in United States history. The storm damaged or destroyed at least 650,000 homes, over 500 buildings, and reduced to debris, and $8 million customers lost power. In New York and New Jersey, the surges were 14 feet up. The Jersey Shore suffered the most severe winds and surf from the storm. How many of you were through Sandy? So you must remember all those things. New York was also severely impacted with damages to subways and roadway tunnels. The entire port was closed. Once reopened, numerous facilities were unable to resume operations until electricity was restored. And industry needs were at our priority. Same thing as in Puerto Rico. Industry was the last priority after Hurricane Maria damaged the island. Disruptions to the power system affected the functioning of phones, wireless, cable, and internet service in home and businesses. Wireless service was also affected when backup batteries powering cell phones went down, eliminating service to over 1 million cell customers. Lack of power affected other services, healthcare, communications, and transportation, with more than 15,000 flights canceled, and the MTA bus systems were shut down. How many days were you without power when Sandy hit New Jersey?
17.
9 days? 19 days.
17.
Well, I should move to New Jersey. We were 120 days without power.
I was out of power for 8 seconds.
I don't know if you can imagine that, but it was a devastating story for us. How many days were you without cell phones after Sandy? 2 days, 3 days? We were 2 months without cell phones. Imagine that, cell phones, 2 months. People were getting crazy. No water, but they were saying no cell phones. So how did you cope? What did you learn? What have you done to improve your business planning after Sandy? What are the plans that you have in place? Then came Hurricanes Harvey and Maria and Irma. Harvey inflicted at least $125 billion in damage, primarily from catastrophic again rainfalls in a 4-day period causing unprecedented floodings, inundating thousands of homes, displacing more than 30,000 people, damaging an estimate of 300,000 structures, and prompting more than 17 rescues. The hurricane again disrupted at least 70 emergency call centers. and 320 cellular sites. And it caused outages for more than 148,000 internet, TV, and phone customers. And yet, Sandy had passed away. When it came to cable systems and other wireline providers, at least 150,000 subscribers were out of service. Harvey forced 25% of oil and gas production to shut down in that region. At least 107 deaths. Following then came Hurricane Maria, Irma, with an estimated cost to the U.S. economy of $76 billion in output. Irma is supposed to be the strongest Atlantic basin hurricane ever recorded outside the Gulf of Mexico. It affected at least 9 U.S. states, turning streets again into rivers, ripping down power lines, uprooting trees, and cutting off coastal communities. It had 185 miles per hour winds and storm surges, bringing up waves 20 feet higher than the normal skies. Initially, it knocked out power to 5.7 million electricity customers of the Florida customers. It also affected the eastern part of Puerto Rico, leaving no power when Maria came along. This is important because when Irma struck Florida, it also struck the eastern part of Puerto Rico. So that area was without power when Maria struck Puerto Rico. More than 7 million subscribers to cable or wireline telecom lost services. As far as wireless connectivity, 24.6% of cell sites were out of service. 5 Florida counties had outages in more than 50% of the cell sites. An estimated of 2 million businesses across Florida were initially impacted by Hurricane Irma. What did we learn? What was similar to Sandy? What was in place so that businesses were protected? And then came our Saint Maria. It's the strongest hurricane to hit Puerto Rico in more than 90 years. Destroyed homes, roads, and bridges. Knocked out power across the entire island and triggered heavy flooding, again floods, devastating the islands and plunging all of its 3.4 million residents into a desperate humanitarian crisis. It plowed against the island with sustained winds of 155 miles, uprooting trees, downing weather stations and cell towers, and ripping wooden and deep vehicle business. Electricity was cut off 100% of the island, and access to clean water and food became limited for homes, business, industry, and residential sectors. Every single one of the island's over 1,700 manufacturers were affected. The breakdown in basic services reached a chaos never experienced before. Lack of cash, gas shortages, communications, transportation, hospital limited to response to emergencies, barges unable to dock reports. Long lines were everywhere, especially for cash. Since ATM machines and banks were closed, thus many available items had to be paid in cash. No ATM was open, and everybody wanted cash. And our island is 85% dependent on the goods that comes from the mainland. The scale of Maria's destruction has been devastating, causing approximately $94 billion in damages and shrinking the island economy as much as 8% this year. A crippling toll for an island that was already billions of dollars in debt. As you're aware, Puerto Rico filed the biggest government bankruptcy in the U.S. and is subject to a fiscal supervision board, which I call a control board, not a supervision board, set by Congress and defined by the PROMESA law. For over 4 months, most of families and business remain without power. 85% you still are now with power, but there's 15%, what the government calls, and I say that's around 30% that we're still without power. The island experiencing the largest blackout in U.S. history. Other issues included limited cell phone service, clean water, food, medicine, and fuel in very short supply, and delay in processing goods from the ports. Today, our ports are still full with containers that cannot be moved into the island. 6 months have passed since Hurricane Maria made landfall, and clear evidence of the hurricane remains. However, signs of recovery are on the way. We say we cannot keep crying. We have to show that there's recovery. When you keep crying, you make things difficult. Most of services improving, electricity is improving. At least I have electricity in my house. Julio, do you have electricity now? Finally has electricity in his house. Cell towers are going back again. Even though we have several cell phone providers out there, usually you get good feedback in the mornings and bad feedback at night. So don't call me at night, call me in the morning. The Islands Power Authority is now looking for renewable energy sources, power grids, solar and water energy. However, water remains a central challenge given the condition of the reservoirs and dams. Most of the water reservoirs and dams were damaged, and some are filled with debris that we're trying to clean, but they are still unable to fill the gap that is there. Even under these constraints, the resiliency of Puerto Ricans have proven to be strong. Everywhere you can see signs of recovery. Small and medium manufacturers and big clusters are back in business with the supply chain gradually responding, and expansion plans are in the works. So, after all these disasters, what have we learned? How is the manufacturing extension program, the MEP, where New Jersey MEP and Primex is part, supporting SMEs, you guys, in the recovery following this disaster? How is New Jersey responding to your needs in this disaster? How is the Georgia MEP responding in these disasters? How is the Florida MEP responding in this disaster? Since early August 2017, MEP has provided funds to locations impacted by Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria, to such locations such as Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, and obviously our island of Puerto Rico. These funds are allocated to assess the functional capabilities of you guys across the impacted regions. Specific includes developing plans to reach and assess your conditions with the goal of a disaster preparedness best practice plans. I don't know how many of you have disaster plans, but you need a disaster plan based on lessons learned to share with SMEs, MEP centers, and other interested parties. Some centers started disaster-related recovery activities before the funds were even available. We were one. Day after the Maria hit Puerto Rico, we had to jump immediately, trying to see how were our manufacturers trying to cope with the disaster, knowing that there was no power, knowing that there was no water, knowing that the roads were closed, knowing that some of the employees lost most of the things that were needed in order to come back to work, knowing that the government had no communications at all with the communities, knowing that we at Primex had no communications. I could not even communicate with Julio for 3 weeks. I didn't know if he was alive, and he knew that I was alive. He was praying, this lady stay away from me for more additional weeks. But I did hit him and say, you have to help me resolve the things that are happening in your territory. He lives in Ponce, which is in the southern part of the island, so he had to move in his auto and move around and see what was happening with the Ponce guys down there. So we had to jump. So we had to help our people get power generators. Believe me, it was an ordeal to get power generators in the island. We were not prepared to be without power. And power generators were nothing that they were new to the guys down there. So we had to move quickly and try to see who could help us with power generators. I remember calling John and asking him, how can I get power generator? And it was not a 5K power generator. We need 20, 30, 40, 50 kWA power generators for our businesses. They are big ones. They need power and they need energy. They needed to complete government incentive requirements so that they could speed up. They need to apply for SBA loans. I don't know how many of you did apply for SBA loans during Sandy. It's a bureaucracy. Forgive me, SBA, but it's a bureaucracy to fill SBA loans. And when you have to fill it in English, and most of our manufacturers are Spanish speaking, it becomes also a problem for them. Supply chain contingency plans. I don't know how many of you know your supply chain. Many of them just were able to contact one of their suppliers, but some of their other suppliers were shut down. So the supply chain was shut down. Contractor listing for facilities repair. There are so many destruction around the island that contractors were missing, and contractors itself had damage. And now we were looking for contractors to see who could move around the island and help those that are most needed. The information system, servers, no energy, no information, no IT, no business information. The cloud was not available. We had no cell phones. We had no energy. So there was no information available. Payroll processing. How could I pay my employees? There's no energy. I don't have the data. I don't know where they live. I don't know their names, their addresses. Temporary office facilities. We had to push our things out of our offices and make space so that some of the small manufacturers can come into our business and stay there to work. So we are sharing Primex experience in support of MEP because we know that some of these things are happening everywhere, every time a disaster moves around. There was a snowstorm recently in your area, and I know that power went away during that time. How did you cope? Did you went back to your disaster plan and say, oh, I have to do this? Or you start thinking about your disaster plan? These are our grant, the one that we have, provides approximately for 1,500 assessments to the small manufacturers in Puerto Rico, trying to see how they're coping, what happened in the first day, and what will they need in order to improve for the next hurricane season. We already have finished 400 assessments, and the lessons learned from these are the ones that we want to share today with you. The first one, the most critical one, is disaster and business continuity plans are a must. They must be placed upfront within the business priorities. They cannot be relayed to the last one. When you do your strategic plan, when you do your business planning, work out your disaster recovery plans. Remember Sandy, remember Harvey, remember Irma, remember Maria. Select a disaster readiness team. Train and allow for decisions. You're not alone. You have a good team of employees. Each one is responsible to make your business recover. Include external factors within the business risk analysis. We usually do business risk analysis and you just think about the internal things. But look around. See the external opportunities that are there, that are risk to your business. include all your assets. Be sure that you're including in that disaster plan your assets, with emphasis on people, power, communication, water, supply chain, infrastructure. The inventory levels need to be reviewed. Listen, we like to talk about lean. Have just-in-time inventories. You know what? They were not good for disaster planning. So think about what is your best inventory level given a period of time. It's not for all the year, but in that disaster or that hurricane season, think how you can stretch a little bit more your inventories, because it could hurt. Determine a disaster time frame or duration period. Should I prepare for a week? Should I prepare for a month? Should I prepare for 9 days? But set up that duration period. Cash is king. Have enough cash for emergencies. We were without ATM machines when Maria hit. Everybody wanted cash. So if you didn't have cash, you could not buy anything at all. And you had to make long lines to get inside a bank so that they could change you only $200. And with $200, you had to wait until another week to come back and do whatever you want to do again with the bank, because it was restrained. So think about what is your cash needs. Have a hard copy list of your employees. It was amazing to see that most of the business had everything in their computers, but they had no listing of their employees, where to contact them, except in that computer list. And they could not contact their employees. Provide an overall communication strategy. Have emergency contacts. Whom should I contact immediately? Radio stations were off the island immediately. TV stations were not working. So you have no way. You have to send a pigeon from one area to the other just to communicate with somebody else. Know your key suppliers. You have a supply chain, but which one are your key ones? Ask them what is their disaster plan, because that will impact your business. Again, this is for us. Maybe you don't need it, but have available power generators. And you know what? At least 2. In our case, we had to run power generators for 24 hours, and they are not tuned to work for 24 hours. They are temporary power generators. They are not forever power generators. For us, remember water. Have a reservoir sufficient for the emergency period. The insurance policies. I don't know when Sandy went through what happens to your insurance policies. But disaster and business interruption, when you go back and check your policies, they do not cover this, they do not cover the other thing, they don't cover at all. But you have been paying your insurance premiums. Cross-train employees on critical activities. You know what? We lost several critical employees because of death and because they moved out from the island. They decided to jump in a plane and move out. So we have businesses now that they don't know what employee was doing because it was in their head. Nobody was trained to do so. So now we have to jump into those businesses, trying to make those processes again go back to work, and that takes time, money, and businesses also are losing there. Secure your financial data. It's important because if you don't have power, if you don't have the cloud, if your servers are out, make sure you have a copy someplace, somewhere of your financial data. That is most needed when you're looking for an SBA loan. You cannot tell the SBA, I don't have the data because I lost it. Because they're going to cry with you, but nothing more than crying is going to happen. Remember post-disaster activities. You have to look into who will be by my side to repair my business. Who are your contractors that might be there? And keep in mind, like in Puerto Rico, when that happened, everybody was looking for contractors, but everybody had been title ready. So now you're in a long line waiting to do so. And then remember floodings. And I met a nice guy this morning that have a good product which is called Aquafence. Maybe he can help in floodings around in New Jersey. These lessons, which we found out that they are similar for Sandy, for Maria, for Irma, for Harvey, are interrelated to how company leaders, you which are company leaders, manage during the events. Throughout the various assessments, it is noticeable how key performers have addressed the situation. The ones that have stepped aside are because they are understanding key leadership lessons that has to be taken in place. One is preparation is key to survival. So your disaster plans are most needed. Prepare for the worst. Even if it doesn't happen, prepare for the worst. Stay calm in the face of chaos. Respond, not react. If you are preparing, you can respond. If you are not prepared, you will react. Know when to act. Do not jump immediately. Do not rush. Just know when to act. Remember that your team is more important than you. Share responsibilities. When disaster happens, you don't know where you will be, but you have a team. Assign responsibilities. Let them make decisions. They understand your business. Don't believe that you're the Lone Ranger. Use them. Be up to the challenge when duty calls. There is no one to blame besides you if you don't prepare first and persistence. The time to change, to do your recovery plans is now. So yes, up now, we have learned a lot. But very few companies are prepared for disasters, and even these cannot foresee all potential disaster effects. And believe me, 2018 hurricane season is around the corner. NEP can be your source to improve your state of disaster readiness. Remember Sandy, remember Harvey, Irma, and Maria. But after all these things, and keep your disaster recovery plans important. Don't let them pass away. Even with this, Puerto Rico companies are maximizing their growth now by venturing into the diverse industries and trusting the skilled workforce to drive the island into a new economy. The island mixed economic sectors are sprawling now, being manufacturing the driver of our gross domestic product. In Puerto Rico, our GDP is basically manufacturing. 47% of our GDP is manufacturing. So it's quite important. If we lose this sector, we are dead. Within the manufacturing sectors, the key players in an island are the pharma industry, which you have a lot in here. 13 of the most important drugs are manufacturing in Puerto Rico. There's a huge manufacturing pharma base in the island. Biologics is becoming a booster sector with Amgen and leading that segment. Aerospace companies, mostly R&D, MRO, back-off services, and robotics assemblies are there. Lufthansa has a tremendous MRO facility there right now, where even JetBlue and most of the airplanes are being sent out to the island for refurbishing purposes. Electronics is down also in the island, with Hewlett-Packard, Microsoft, Cortland Hammers, and others being the leaders in that segment. Apparel, we are the second in defense contracts. Proper International and Short Bank, Eagle Industries are one of the biggest ones out there. But all these companies need a supply chain of the small manufacturers. They cannot do many things in the island unless we have a strong supply chain of the island supply and manufacturers. So, the island is gradually gaining its momentum. The Purchasing Managers Index of Puerto Rico manufacturing sector has risen to 58.5 since January, the first in 3 years. The percentage of open manufacturing companies at 65% in January have steadily increased. The pharma industry is booming with US and British-based companies coming to the island. The apparel sector has been awarded more than $40 million in DoD contracts in the last 2 weeks. Venture capital investment of $45 million for the island entrepreneur ecosystem was signed last week. Lufthansa Technique Fees module is now on the works. Airports, you can fly down there, are fully operational. 70 flights per day are available across 27 different commercial airlines. 80% of the hotels are operational and taking reservations. Upcoming cruise season is set to break records with 1.7 million passengers expected. The restaurant industry is leading with almost 1,600 open restaurants in San Juan and thousands more across the island. Ground transportation is operating as usual. You have Uber, taxis, car rentals, and public transportation available. Rum exports are back in business. Look out for the Don Q label here. Don't look for Bacardi, which is good, but look for the Don Q label. Salsa lessons are sprawling across the island, so you go down there, go and take a salsa lesson. Over 1,600 jobs are committed right now in the with new manufacturing projects. And yes, our beaches are ready for summer. So is Vieques and Culebra, our sister islands. And within these good business opportunities, which I know there are tons more that I can mention, the MEC centers like us are committed to support your business growth with businesses and services such as ISO, QS, Lean methodology and automation, Food Modernization Act, the FISMA for the ones that are in the food industry, disaster and continuity plans, which I know that in New Jersey are most needed, and obviously exporting services. And yes, you can export to Puerto Rico. And finally, the 2018 hurricane season is about to begin. Mark your calendars, May 31st. Weather experts forecast as an active season as the 2017 season. Can you imagine that we in Puerto Rico can go through this ordeal again, or that Sandy comes again in this territory, or that something like Harvey hits Texas? You only have 2 months to prepare, April and May. Remember, to not prepare is the greatest of all crimes. Prepare beforehand, for all contingencies, is the greatest of all virtues. Thanks for remembering Puerto Rico during our disaster. Thanks for all your support of Puerto Rico. And remember, Puerto Rico is joined to New Jersey, and we are both open for business. Thank you.